Okay, here we go. All right. Hi, everybody. Let me take off my jacket real quick so you can all see my State Parks, wonderful State Parks badge on the side of my shirt. All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Samuel Roberts, and I'm back here at Seacliff State Beach. Right now, we are streaming from the Visitor Center, where we've been streaming for the past, I don't know, I've been doing this about 6-7 weeks or so. Thank you. I have my assistant Pravina right here.
Hi there.
She's helping me with the camera orientation because I have messed it up every single week I've been doing these live streams. It's true. I don't know how to use technology. But last week, I don't know if y'all remember, it's been a long week, but last week we actually were talking about dolphins and it was pretty cool. Actually, I had my pet dolphin, Sam Jr. Pravina? Yeah. Okay, Pravina's gonna get Sam Jr. for me. So we're gonna have a little special guest with us today as we talk about dolphins. This is part 2 of the video. Here's what we're gonna cover today. Ooh, it's Sam Jr. All right, everybody, here he is. He squeaks too. It's really cute. These are for sale on the parks website. So if you do want your own little Sam Jr., they're on sale at CA State Parks, the CA State Park store. I don't know the exact website, but check it out. Check it out. Okay. So today, here's what we're going to cover: the dolphin's brain, echolocation, which kind of goes along with that. We're also going to talk about dolphins in the military, learn some cool facts about that, and then we're going to end with dolphins in captivity. My dog would love to eat that baby dog. I don't know, they might be good dog toys too, but they're hand puppets. They're really fun to use. Okay, but as I was saying, we're going to start off talking about dolphins and their brains. These are really interesting. Dolphins actually have the second largest mammal brain. I believe the whale has the biggest brain. Dolphins are second. They're actually bigger than human brains. But essentially, here's some fun facts about the brains of the dolphins. So inside Sam Jr. right here is the dolphin's brain. And this brain lacks olfactory lobes. And you might be wondering, what's an olfactory lobe? Well, that is basically how we process smell. With our olfactory lobes. Dolphins don't have this, they can't smell. And they're underwater, it makes sense, right? You can't really smell, other creatures can, sharks, but these dolphins don't really need to smell that much underwater. What they do to find their food is echolocate. And so we're gonna get into a bit more of that in a bit, but when they echolocate, they don't need to use smell to track their food. So it's really not, scientists aren't sure if dolphins, like Sam Jr. here, actually have a good sense of taste because they usually lack taste buds. There's a few exceptions with some dolphins where they found some taste buds, but for the most part, these dolphins do lack taste buds. And it makes sense. Last week we talked about how dolphins just swallow their food whole. They don't chew it with their teeth. The teeth are used mainly for grabbing onto food. So they don't have a very good they lack a sense of smell and a sense of taste for the most part. However, it is interesting because dolphins are seen to prefer certain types of fish over other types of fish. So it does raise the question, do these dolphins smell a little bit? Can they taste, or can these dolphins taste a little bit? Can they differentiate between two different types of fish? And how do they differentiate between these species of fish? As I mentioned, dolphins do have the second largest brain out of any mammal. I'm gonna get some pictures right here for you all. It's gonna be a little hard with my dolphin hand. But first, right here, we're gonna look at this upper picture. Right here, this brain that I'm pointing to, I think you all can guess this is a human brain. On the right here, this is a dolphin's brain. And you can see kind of the distinction between the two lobes is a bit bigger than the human brain. It sticks out more, it's a lot larger. We're gonna get back to the second picture in a bit, but there's also this picture as well that I wanted to briefly show you all. And this is a comparison of the human brain and the dolphin brain right here. So it has some information on the picture that I'd like to read to you all. Basically, you have the auditory nerve, and the auditory nerve in dolphins is twice as wide as it is in humans, and that allows these nerve fibers, an increase in the amount of nerve fibers that these dolphins have versus the humans, helps them make sense of sounds more quickly than humans. So once again, the auditory nerve is right there, and in humans it's just right there. Now, fair warning, I am also colorblind, and this is color-coded, so I'm not too sure if I'm actually pointing at the right parts of the dolphin brain. Fair warning. But if you search dolphin brain online, you can find this picture as well. Okay, so next we have the visual organs. Dolphins' visual center sits right next to their auditory cortex. It allows the brains to translate sounds into images and images into sound. We're going to talk about echolocation in a little bit and how dolphins are able to produce images just by echolocating and figuring out how far away their prey is and how big it is and how many there are. I also want to talk about the corpus callosum. Now we did talk about right here the dolphin brain, right? It has these two clear distinct hemispheres of the brain, just like humans, right? But these are out a bit more. You do have that separation in the middle. Now, this is actually really useful for when dolphins sleep. When dolphins sleep, what they'll actually do is shut off half of their brain. So, essentially, if a dolphin's asleep, it's only going to use one half of the brain. It's really hard. If dolphins just went to sleep and were not aware of anything, they'd be really easy targets for other whales, right? Like the orca or the killer whales and sharks and just prey like that. So what dolphins do when they fall asleep, they'll fall asleep with one eye open like this, and then the other brain hemisphere will be on. So what that's going to look like is if they have this eye shut and this eye open, this hemisphere of their brain is going to be open, is going to be on. Now if they have this eye closed and this eye open, this part of their the brain hemisphere is going to be on. So they alternate, and what they'll do is they take kind of like, I would say, cat naps almost. They don't sleep for like hours and hours at a time. I think most, let's see, I have it somewhere. They sleep for about, I believe it's every 2 hours or so. They'll fall asleep for about 2 hours with one eye closed, and then what they'll do is alternate. So they'll wake up and shut down the part of the brain that was functioning, and now they'll turn on the other brain. And essentially with this eye open, it allows them to they're still asleep, but half of their brain is on, so they're able to see anything that's coming their way, if there's any prey coming their way, or if there's any predators swimming directly and trying to attack them. They're able to see that, and they're able to wake up pretty fast. So they usually only sleep at night as well. They don't usually sleep during the day. So that is how dolphins sleep. But I think one of the things I really want to talk about today is echolocation, and I know I've been mentioning this a few times during this live stream, but echolocation is really neat. It's a really amazing ability that these dolphins have, and I think one of the things everybody knows about dolphins is that they echolocate. So essentially, if you don't know what echolocation is, no worries, we're going to go over that. Echolocation is the use of sound to determine the location of an object based on how long it takes that sound to come back. So what a dolphin will do is, I have a picture for us. So a dolphin, this is a dolphin echolocating, and these are sound waves. What the dolphins do is clicks and whistles. So they're high frequency clicks though, they don't sound that low. And they whistle too, right? But these are high frequency clicks. They bounce off the objects and come back. These clicks actually travel about approximately 5 times faster underwater than they do through the air. So they're propagated faster in the water than on land. So what's going to happen is a dolphin's going to do its clicks, right? And it's going to send these sound waves. It's going to hit this fish or whatever object is in front of it, and then these sound waves return. So you can see these dotted lines. These are the sound waves returning. So essentially, they're just bouncing sound waves off of stuff in front of them and seeing what's there. And this allows them to, determine if there's a school of fish. So if Sam Jr. is swimming along right here, and he is clicking and clicking, doing these high frequency clicks, which, mind you, these high frequency clicks are kind of hard to hear. If you're next to some dolphins underwater, you can kind of hear them, but they're generally they are high frequency, so they aren't like very loud to us. But if this dolphin is clicking underwater and trying to find fish, he's going to bounce those sound waves off, and then say this is a school of fish. It's going to bounce right off and come back towards them, and he's going to be able to determine how many fish there are, the size of the fish, or the size of the group of fish, and how far away they are. So dolphins echolocate using their melons. I bet you never knew a dolphin had a melon. I'm just kidding. It's not an actual fruit that they have. It's called their melon. It's actually the area. I have another picture for us. It's actually how they echolocate. And this is the melon right here, this thing right here. This is found in their forehead. About right here is where their melon would be. And basically, it's a bunch of tissue. It allows them to pinpoint exact things in the water, and that's how they send their clicks. They send them from, they're able to receive the sound waves in their melon and determine that. So when the sound waves do return, it's not only received by the melon, it's also received by their teeth. Now, once again, it's very interesting how dolphins use their teeth because they don't chew their food, right? So the teeth are used to as a defensive mechanism to also grab food, but to also conduct sound waves. So when the dolphin's jaw, the dolphin's jaw right here has sound receptors, and they bring the sound to the dolphin's inner ear, and that's how it helps them to determine how far away prey is. Echolocation can be very useful because it can help dolphins see in the dark and murky waters. And yeah, so that's why dolphins echolocate. That's how they find their food. That's how they sense danger. That's how they sense whatever's in front of them. So they can see underwater. They do have a pretty good sense of sight, but they can echolocate to just find that food that they're looking for underwater. All right, so next we're going to talk about whistles, because I mentioned dolphins do whistle. So dolphins do clicks and whistles, but primarily dolphins are going to whistle to communicate with one another. At the age of 1, dolphins actually create their own unique whistle that isn't like another dolphin's whistle. So this is how they communicate with others. As I mentioned, the dolphins have a really big brain. They have the second largest mammal brain, and this brain allows them to store a lot of information. Studies have shown that dolphins can actually remember a dolphin's unique whistle, even if they haven't seen that dolphin for 20 years. Think about that for a minute. That's like remembering someone's voice. So if I was talking to a friend, or if I was just talking to a random person, I came up to them, and then 20 years later I ran into that same person, and I recognize them by their voice. That's basically what these dolphins are doing. They're able to recognize a dolphin's whistle even 20 years after they haven't seen that, 20 years after not seeing that dolphin. So they'll still remember that unique whistle. And this is because each dolphin's whistle is unique to that dolphin. And like I said, that does develop about the age of 1. So as I mentioned too, dolphins do have good eyesight. They have their eyes right on the side of their head. And this not only allows them to see like this, but it also, they can see the side, but they can also see in front of them and in back of them. So it doesn't, we kind of see, we have our eyes straight ahead, right? And on our face like this, they're not on the side of our head. So we have basically a singular field of view. You aren't seeing two separate fields of view. It's kind of like a binocular, right? When we stare through a binocular, you have that one field of view. With dolphins, they have two separate fields of views. So they're actually seeing on this side and this side. It's not combined. It's not like how we see, if that makes sense. So they have these two separate fields of views. as I was talking about, when dolphins fall asleep, they do keep one eye open. So that eye is going to be able to look in front of them, to the side, and in back. They have those separate fields of views. If you just tuned in, dolphins do fall asleep by shutting one eye. If they shut this eye, this side of their brain, the other opposite side of their brain is going to be left on so they can stay alert for predators while they are sleeping. Okay, so on that note, what we're going to talk about now is dolphins in the military. I think this is really interesting. I've been doing research on dolphins for a bit, and I've always heard about dolphins being used in the military, but I didn't know if that was ever like an actual program, right? Or I'd never really investigated it too much. But upon further research, I found out that dolphins actually have been used by different military programs around the world, most notably the United States and Russia. So essentially the US military has used dolphins for their abilities since the 1960s. So it's been going on for quite a long time. Primarily they use dolphins because dolphins are really smart, right? Dolphins are very smart. Dolphins are pretty sociable. They get along fairly well with humans. They have great echolocation abilities, and then they've also worked with whales and seals. And whales, because they do echolocate, and even though seals don't echolocate, they do have great underwater eyesight. So they have used, the U.S. military has used dolphins, whales, and seals for underwater missions. Now, usually what they've trained dolphins to do underwater is find mines, underwater mines, using their echolocation. He has not been used by the military, just so you all know. So the Navy states they have never used a dolphin to attack an enemy before. Other countries, like Russia, have actually trained dolphins and other marine animals as well. And here are some pictures. Dolphins are really smart. You can see right here, they're feeding the dolphin fish. And on some of the missions that these dolphins were sent to do, which is like just testing, training them to find these underwater mines, they're actually really great at finding these mines, and oftentimes they're able to do so with almost like perfect marks. They're able to find everything that's like any practice mine that's down there, or any practice item that they're using to test the dolphin's ability. Dolphins are almost always able to find those items when they are being trained. Here's another picture of a dolphin right here. This is another member of the military or the Navy, and then here's a dolphin. You can see right here it does have a camera on its fin, and so that is to record the dolphin underwater and look and see where the dolphin's swimming. There's not a lot of information about the different programs Russia has been using with underwater mammals. There were some reports that it was disbanded in the late 90s, but some recent reports by fishermen close to Russia show that they think that they're still training whales and dolphins to either like attack ships or investigate different ships sailing near Russian waters. Interesting stuff. But on that note, we're kind of talking about training mammals, and or training these dolphins, and I thought it would be great to talk about dolphins in captivity. And I know this is something that a lot of people talk about, and a lot of people have been talking about dolphins in captivity. And I had actually I thought I had printed out a few pages pledge that I was going to read at the end, and I just realized I didn't, so I'm going to find that on my phone in a bit. But I want to talk to you about why it's bad to keep dolphins in captivity. So many dolphins, right? There's places like there's different theme parks and amusement parks across the United States and around the world that do keep marine animals in captivity. And an interesting thing to note here is that many of these dolphins are actually, I think there's a common assumption, and I thought this myself, that dolphins are actually born into captivity, but that's oftentimes not the case. A lot of times dolphins are captured from the ocean and brought into captivity. And now, this is actually pretty bad because the way these people catch dolphins is by chasing them until they're exhausted. And oftentimes this puts a lot of distress on the dolphins. If they capture the dolphins with nets, so Sometimes the dolphins will actually drown themselves to escape the nets or injure themselves, getting out of those, trying to escape the boats. So now usually dolphins swim up to 45 to 50 miles a day, 40 to 50 miles a day. They also dive hundreds of feet underwater, right? And U.S. regulations for dolphins enclosures they're only required to have a 24-foot by 24-foot pool, as well as only 6 feet deep. So dolphins can't dive really in a 6 feet deep pool. They don't get a lot of places to swim if it's 24 feet by 24, right? Dolphins are pretty large as well. We mentioned last week they're as small as 5 feet, but they can get up to 30 feet. So, it is, the bigger the dolphin, the less space they are going to have to swim. So oftentimes dolphins will just swim around in circles. They are very social creatures. They do like to play a lot, and they don't really get that stimulation and have those stimuli to entertain them when they are in captivity. Additionally, there is chlorine kept in these pools oftentimes, and this is to prevent bacteria from growing in the pools, but this does have adverse effects on the dolphins. This can cause their damage to their eyes mainly, and it can cause blindness. Captive dolphins are trained using operant conditioning. And if you're unsure what okay, it looks like we had some poor connection, so I'm back. I don't know if you caught the last few minutes, so I'm just gonna repeat a little bit of what I was saying. In enclosures, oftentimes dolphins, the pools that they're in have chlorine in them, and that's to keep bacteria out of the pools and to help the humans who are in the pools be safer, not exposed to that bacteria, but it does have adverse effects on the dolphin's eyes. It can cause blindness, it does cause eye irritation, so that is very bad. And then also, dolphins are trained using operant conditioning. And operant conditioning, if you're unfamiliar with that term, it's basically using food as a way to train these dolphins. So if they do the correct action, if they're supposed to flip or jump out of the water, they can be, if they do that, they'll get food. It's like that. So they train it using food. And then sometimes though, they'll be trained to do tricks for up to 12 hours a day. They're on display, right? You have a showing. They're swimming around, they're doing tricks up to 12 hours a day, and they start to suffer from exhaustion. And it's worth noting a lot of these dolphins don't make it to old age. They do die at much younger ages in captivity than they do out in the ocean. And I see a comment from Anne, is there an initiative to not keep dolphins in captivity? And that's a great question, Anne, I'm glad you asked. As I was mentioning, I was actually going to print out a petition about it, and I'll actually bring it up on my phone right now, and I'll put a link to it on this video when I do publish this video. But there are definitely a bunch of different petitions to keep dolphins out of captivity, and let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on one second. Okay, yeah, so there are a bunch. I was looking at the Dolphin Project earlier, and this is to end swim with dolphin programs. There are a few different petitions you can sign. They do take less than a minute to fill out, and so if this is something that you're interested in showing that you support, I would urge you all to sign one of these petitions. And like I said, I'll put the link in the bio for this video, so when right after this video is done streaming, it's going to be published, and if you're interested in signing that petition, click the link and it will bring you to that page. Before I go though, are there any other questions from the audience about dolphins, about anything in particular? How are you all doing? You all having a good day today? Cool. Okay, maybe everybody's being a bit shy. It's okay. I'm not trying to be intimidating. But I wanted to mention before I go, thank you so much for tuning in today to this dolphin video. I hope you all appreciated it. I hope you all learned something new. I know I sure did when I was doing this research on dolphins. I want to show you one last thing. I forgot to show you all this picture, but these are some pictures of some dolphins in captivity. It is sad to see, and it really breaks my heart having to look at these pictures. But I wanted to show you, yeah, they do, you can see right here all the marks on the dolphin and all the marks right here, and it is, it's really sad to see that happen to these creatures that are born in the wild and are supposed to be wild creatures. But on that note, thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad you enjoyed, Anne. And next week, I know I talked about doing dolphins. We might do dolphins again next week, but I really want to tell you all about dogs at the state parks and why it's important to keep them on leash. So we might talk about that too and look into some research about that. I'm so glad to hear that, Pravina. All right, on that note, I'll see you all next week at 12:30. Don't forget to tune in. Have a great weekend and stay safe. Bye. Oh, and Sam says bye. Sam Jr. says bye too. Bye.